Michelle. And this morning, I would now like to introduce to you our speaker of the day, Toni Hamilton.
You want me to fix that?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Reverend Michelle. Today is September 11th. And today, first and foremost, I would like to honor the people who lost their lives on September 11th, 2001. The families who lost their loved ones, and the first, second, third, fourth, fifth responders who put their lives on the line to help them. I would also like to acknowledge all of us who stood by in disbelief, in horror, confusion, in anguish, and most probably feeling helpless. It was unthinkable, incomprehensible, and yet it happened. Originally, 911 was a phone number conceived in the late 1950s as a public service access point for requesting assistance for crime, fire, medical assistance, and emergencies. 911 is for emergencies. It is a way we report and receive assistance when someone's life, well-being, or property is endangered. It allows us to receive immediate assistance and to receive care. It is a way of us not being alone. Yet we have emergencies all around us with no organized efforts or no possibilities for help. We see people around us who are hungry, people around us who are in pain, people around us who are living in substandard, subhuman conditions. We see all kinds of emergencies around us. Our focus this month is on connecting to a world that works for everyone. The premise of our teaching is that there is one divine creative intelligence, all powerful, all knowing, and everywhere evenly present. It is within each of us like the wave to the ocean. It is each one of us, and it is expressing by means of each one of us, uniquely and individually. As a wave, we have all of the qualities and attributes, the abilities that the ocean has. This creative intelligence, it expresses through us as consciousness, as awareness, as energy. It is our consciousness that determines the content, the quality, and the direction of our everyday experience. When we incarnate, when we're born into this life, we are influenced, taught, and shaped by the immediate and collective consciousness that we're born into. Our parents, our culture, our environment. We gain our knowledge and form beliefs based on our experiences. Within this context, we are molded and our beliefs create our future experience. Why? Because it is done according to our beliefs. Our world mirrors back to us what we believe to be so. That said, if we don't like what we are experiencing, or if we just want to, we can create something else. We have the ability to do that. Our teaching, provides us with the knowledge and understanding of spiritual laws and tools that allow us to create the lives we want to live. Thus, the adage, change your thinking or change your beliefs, change your life. We have to change our beliefs, manage and direct our thoughts and feelings. We know this in our teaching. We know that it is an inside job. We say, as within, so without, as above, so below. How do we know what it is that we believe? We look at what's reflecting back to us in our world of experience. We each want our lives to work for us, I do believe, to have certain experiences. Those wants, those experiences are different for each of us, but we each have a desire to experience certain things. Each wave in the ocean may be different, have a different experience, and want something different, but each wave is part of the whole and therefore impacts the whole. One of the scientific principles that I'm very fond of is the butterfly effect. I'm going to paraphrase this. It says that if a butterfly flaps its wings in one part of the world, that it can create a tsunami on the other side of the world. Now, I have to admit to you, I used to think that this was pretty incredulous, found it hard to believe, and I actually dismissed it. But on September 11th, 2001, I was in my world, doing me. Life seemed pretty good, and out of nowhere, an angry, fire-breathing dragon appeared and disrupted life. That's an understatement. In this age of information, we are aware of what's going on in the world, sometimes up to the minute. But if it is not directly impacting us, we're able to maintain a distance and shield ourselves. It's not ours. So we're aware of earthquakes and tsunamis and hurricanes and hunger and thirst and wars and rapes and persecutions and trafficking and battered bodies and takeovers and theft, the homeless, the lack of freedom. But believe it really has nothing to do with us because it's not part of our reality until it is. We can see signs and ignore them until we can't. Until the wave from the other side of the ocean flows next to mine. We hear rumblings, we hear tales, news, but we don't really have to deal with it. My world is pretty okay. I'm really sorry that they're going through that. We dismiss things, we call them conspiracy theories, and create further separation so that we feel safe. When I first heard the theme from CSL, a world that works for everyone, I had a visceral response in my body. I knew there was power and truth in it. I knew it was life-changing. As a matter of fact, I don't even know what the yearly themes were after that. I heard them, but I don't remember because I was so impacted by a world that works for everyone. But there are so many issues to be healed in this world. It's a huge task, and I am one small person. Every human has the right to self-determination, to food, to shelter, to clothing, to education, to freedom. But it's not simple because we don't all agree. We don't believe the same things, and we don't all want the same things. But we know in this teaching that it's an inside job. A shift in consciousness is required. And the only consciousness I can change is my own. But in so doing, I am then able to influence the consciousness of the whole with who I am being. We must know and remember every moment we can that you and I are made of the same stuff that the divine intelligence is. We have access to all the qualities and attributes of the divine and can create the lives that we choose to live. But let me not make light of this task. There are really bad things going on in the world. If you go to your favorite news source, whatever it is, I went to 4 or 5 of them and just chose headlines. There's a war in the Ukraine. There's the January 6th issue in our country. Democracy is at stake. There's a manhunt underway. There are missing children. There is a heat wave. There's nuclear action that's being threatened. The Queen has passed. There are lawmakers that are at odds over the abortion ban, and clean water is largely inaccessible in Jackson. There are vicious wind and rain in Southern California. Now, we could replace our tendency to disconnect, to judge, to feel anger and resentment, to feel contempt, to be aggressive with willingness, with curiosity, as Reverend Michelle always teaches us, with tolerance and kindness and forgiveness, with love, caring, concern, and generosity. The little me's and you in this world who want a world that works for everyone could create the shift in consciousness, could create the tipping point for change in the world. Seems impossible, but we are made of the same creative intelligence that creates, sustains, and maintains the universe. It is not only possible, it is coming. Maybe the question is, how much are we allowing ourselves and the rest of the world to suffer before we're willing to change our minds? But we are on a trajectory towards it. Let's fantasize a bit. What does a world look like that works for everyone? What comes to mind when you think of it? Anything? When you see the news or hear something from a loved one, do you think of it? Do you have any clues? Are you willing to take a look at it for yourself? Do you find yourself doing positive things that you hope make a difference? I know you do. What if there were no hunger? If there was quality food for everyone, if everyone had shelter, if everyone had free education and healthcare when they needed it, if everyone was really safe to go any place and do whatever they wanted to do. What if everyone not only was educated, but we had education exchanges with people throughout the world? What if there were no abductions? What if we celebrated our differences? What if there was water for everyone? If there was a place where people really held their elected officials accountable for real? Where everyone had the choice to elect officials to represent them? What if the world was a place where critical problems and issues were really solved? We could teach our children mindfulness and meditation, nonviolent communication, negotiation skills, creative visualization, visioning, prosperity consciousness, cultural awareness, kindness, how to use their talents to contribute to the world, conservation, farming, carpentry, healing arts, financial management, real life skills, teach them real life skills at home and in school. We could have consciousness raising summits and delegations and have a news media that told only facts without judgment, sensationalism, or embellishment. And one time, not over and over again. Okay, maybe twice in case somebody missed it. We could ignore the bad things without giving energy to them. Shift the focus to the positive, successful, productive, creative content. We could do a 5-year experiment and see what happens if our focus was just on the positive things and we didn't give energy to the negative ones. We could have spiritual delegates and governments and skilled professionals solving the world problems like eradicating hunger and homelessness and pollution. They would be accountable to all of us, the everyday little people in the world. I know what you're saying. I know. That's a utopia, Toni. That's unrealistic. Maybe, but it would shift the pendulum in a better direction than where we are now. The thing is, change requires a shift in consciousness. Each of us deciding what is ours to do, no matter how big or small. Each of us doing our inner work and contributing to the shift in consciousness. Each of us being responsible for the creation of conditions in our world, the whole world, because that's what it will take to create the right kind of change. When we do our inner work, when we are loving and kind, when we learn to forgive, when we practice non-judgment and seek to understand others, when we become the change we wish to see in the world, our world changes. A world that works for everyone is not a dream, not utopia. It is a necessity. You know how to set an intention? Have you ever decided for yourself and said, I don't know how, but I'm going to do X, Y, Z? You've heard me say, I don't know how, but I'm going to live on a beach. When it comes to the big issues and challenges, the problems of the world, we may feel as though we are just one small person, not big enough or knowledgeable enough to solve the problems. Have you heard the quote, if you think you are too small to be effective, then you have never been in bed with a mosquito? Most important in all of this, we are forgetting the divine presence when we think we're too small and we're not enough. We could add our small voice, our intention, to the pool of intentions, of desires. We could set the intention, decide, I don't know how this is going to happen, but I know and trust that the creative intelligence will respond to my intention, to my desire, and unfold it. Make it so. Setting the intention is the only thing that might be ours to do. I believe that having enough to eat and drink, being safe and free, without war, having self-determination, living in a world that works for everyone, is the intent of the divine and the way that the world was created to be. So, family, what do you really believe? What are you willing to intend for our world? I ask you to decide, and if I may be so bold, to make the commitment to at least intend a world that works for everyone. Thank you. Let's take this into prayer. So what I know is that there is a divine power and presence that creates all of life, that expresses in and through and as all of life, that sustains and maintains all of life, that it has created experiences and expressions so magnificent, so beautiful, so wonderful. And it is a gift of love. It is a gift of love expressing for each one of us. It is a gift of love that allows each one of us to have the choice to live in awe, to have the choice to live engulfed and surrounded in love and beauty and joy, to have the opportunity to create the lives that we choose to live, because this divine spark Call it God, creator, spirit, whatever you call it, this divine spark is expressing in and through and as each one of us. Is no lack or limitation really of any kind. And so what I affirm and what I know, that divine spark within each one of us knows the truth. That divine spark within each one of us knows what is possible. And that divine spark is guiding each one of us to be our highest and best, to contribute to the world, because each one of us matters and each one of us makes a difference, because there is really only one, the incredible, magnificent presence that I call God expressing. And it expresses as love, as beauty, as harmony, as wholeness, as balance, as peace, as joy. This is the truth. And we have the free will to create whatever we choose to experience. So what I affirm is that each of us knows this truth and chooses the highest and best. And so now I simply release this word into the law, knowing that it is God that makes it so. Please close with me. And so it is.